All right, so we're finding the distance between points, and the distance between 2 points. There's a distance formula that you can use, and you can memorize it if you want. But I prefer. Oops, I wrote this wrong. It's not plus, it's minus. This is the plus. Y1 minus y2 squared. So the distance formula, all you're doing is you're making a right triangle out of these points. And then you're using Pythagoras Theorem. So what does Pythagoras Theorem say? It says, right, so that squared plus that squared equals that squared. So this is your D. We'll call this A, and we'll call this B. So Pythagoras Theorem says that A squared plus B squared equals D. I said D because of distance, right? Distance squared. And so to solve for D, the distance, you would take the square root. And that's what this is. It's the square root of the difference here, the distance here, which is this is your x. So this point is 5, 1. And this point here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 0, -5. And so your distance is just going to be the x's subtracted from each other. So 5 minus 0, that distance is 5 minus 0. And then this distance here is 1 minus -5, because you're going 1 here and then another 5 there, which is like minus a negative is plus a positive. So that's essentially what you're doing, and so that's the distance formula. So you could do it either, if you're given the graph like this, I would prefer not even to worry about the distance formula, just draw your triangle in and then like look at it visually and make sense out of it. Because you're going to have to do that stuff anyway in the geometry class. So the distance in this case is going to be the square root of these things here, which are the x's, which is 5 squared plus 6 squared, which equals the square root of 25 plus 36, which equals the square root of, what is that, 61? And then sometimes they'll want you to simplify it further. Simplifying it further, just think if you can break this down into product of primes, if there's any numbers that have any square root factors of it, like the same number twice, which 61 doesn't have anything like that. So this is just your answer. Let's try this other one. Let's do this a different way. Let's do this using this formula. See what you like better. So these x value here is -3 and the y value is +3. The x value here is 2 and the y value is 2. So you're taking your x's. We'll use that as 0.1. 2 minus -3. Make sure you use parentheses. That's a mistake. Most people make a mistake in actually plugging in the numbers. That's a very common mistake to make. Squared plus, there's my y's, 2 minus 3. 2 minus 3 squared. So that equals, these become a plus a positive, so that's 5 squared plus -1 squared. And you can see that if you look here, right? I can't help but to go back to the picture. It's 1 and 5. So that equals the square root of 25 plus 1, which is the square root of 26. And again, 26, break it down, that's 2 and 13. So that can't be broken down anymore, so there's your answer, square root of 26.